Before I begin my remarks today, though, I know Tom had mentioned to me that there was a prayer earlier, and it mentioned Pastor Saeed Abedini, an American pastor who is imprisoned in Iran. Has spent over 52 weeks now, it's 368 days in prison, only because he's a Christian. And on Thursday, outside the White House, we participated in a vigil. There were 70 plus happening around the country in about 17 countries in the world. But if you see this photo, which has now appeared, I got it from our Israeli office. The man in the red tie there is Senator Ted Cruz, 2 days after speaking for 21 hours. Okay? That's my wife, Anna. The Reverend who married us, to the left of Senator Cruz, Rob Schenck, who's an activist on Capitol Hill. And a Reverend from an AME church right behind our office, who's a Democrat and Obama supporter. And he said something funny, because he knew once this photo was taken, it'd be around the world, and it literally is. That he'd rather be photographed in a bar and have his congregants see that than be praying with Ted Cruz the day after what he said about Obamacare. But the bigger picture is that there are some issues that we can unite on, even when D.C. is so divided. And that's what we're talking about here today primarily. So as important as Saeed's case is, and it'll be updated, I'm on television tomorrow a couple of times, and Naghmeh, his wife's going to be on this afternoon because the president's finally spoken out. The IRS issue, folks, is the largest scandal since Watergate. You see, we the people are the only thing standing between tyranny and our fundamental freedoms. I mean, that's what our founding fathers fought for. It's us. It is we the people. It's we the people that are the only thing left that makes sure America's the shining city on the hill. It's the people. It's not the government. With the IRS scandal, it just makes it that much worse. That they would, this poorly run organization would actually target people, then try to cover up the targeting and lie about it. And yet we have politicians calling it phony. We the people are what the bureaucrats are most afraid of. So that's why they tried to shut all of you down before the 2012 election. They wanted to make sure what happened in 2010 didn't happen when President Obama was back on the ticket. And effectively they did. But see, ultimately, they may be afraid of us. But we the people are responsible for actually standing up to protect the rights. If we don't stand up, their fear gets put into action. They're not just going to be afraid, they're going to do what they did. But we stood up here. And now look at them taking the Fifth Amendment, running away. Because when we, the people, take a stand, when we, the people, raise our voice, we are the majority. I mean, at least 10 of your groups in Ohio, we now know, were on that list of 162. We have corrupt, power-hungry officials in D.C. Okay? Bureaucrats, elected officials. And the only way we fight back is by gathering like this. You know, it's because the IRS thought we'll pick on these groups. They're not going to pay for lawyers who understand the tax code and going to sue the IRS. So, yeah, we won't have to worry about it. Except for the fact that one thing they messed up was that the Tea Party is very grassroots. It is very localized. They didn't realize that maybe these people would figure out that we were all getting treated the same way. They thought you wouldn't. And maybe they thought we wouldn't help. I don't believe that Lois Lerner is the end of this scandal. I believe she was the main, she's always been an enforcer. But enforcers, they take orders. They get direction. But you certainly take the Fifth when you're as partisan as she was in those emails. You take the Fifth when you share information that it clearly says in the law, you go to jail if you do. You're subject to real civil lawsuits like ours, where the Supreme Court has said a government official who violates an individual's constitutional rights cannot hide behind their government status if they use that status to unconstitutionally attack someone. And folks, that is why we have filed this lawsuit. Not just against IRS or head of exempt organizations for IRS, but it's also filed against Lois herself. We are in the process, and I know Tom, I think, has been informed about this, and those of you from the other groups that we represent here. Because of this targeting list, literally the enemies list that we were told we were conspiracy theorists to think existed, and there it was. Yeah. That enemies list has changed everything. I mean, one of the groups got flagged because Herman Cain was at one of their events. Literally. That's what it says. Herman Cain attended. Another group got flagged because of possible indirect anti-Obama rhetoric. Let me give you an example of potential indirect anti-Obama rhetoric. I disagree with Obamacare. That's all that would take. You realize that. That's it. That's indirect anti-Obama rhetoric. So this is the week, folks. We've got to fight to try and stop Obamacare. This is the week. I mean, this goes into effect at all. At all. And whether it's the IRS scandal, whether it's Obamacare, we, the people, are the only thing remaining to ensure that America is that shining city on the hill that Ronald Reagan talked about. We're it. Because the government bureaucracy will turn us into Europe. They're still in crisis. We get out of our recessions. We fight back against the Depression. We're supposed to be able to trust. We don't have to love every agency of our government. And we can try to reform it. But to think that anyone in our government could use partisan politics to go after people and not go to jail for it is a crime in and of itself. We the people can do it. We the people must do it. Tom, thank you for having me and thank you for inviting me. Thank all of you. No lawsuit without Ohio. You're an important state, a great state. Thank you so much for having me in the Buckeye State. Thank you, everybody. And God bless you.